Deltarune's Chapter 3 secret boss has multiple phases to it, and takes quite a bit of effort to fully experience. And as I found out in my own first playthrough, you can actually fully miss this boss, which has been kind of a controversial thing within the community. I think increasingly across these chapters, Toby is making this harder and harder, since it is fully optional content within the game, thus seemingly creating it in a way that asks the players to really rise to the challenge. And that maybe it isn't something you experience on a first playthrough. There's a lot to cover, but just before I get into it, the Steam Summer Sale is on right now. All 2 Left Thumbs games are discounted, but if I'm going to pitch one to you today, it's going to be Schism. If you like putting yourself to the test in extra hard challenges, you will very much enjoy this action roguelike. It borrows the frequency switching system of Ikaruga, meaning you can switch colors to dodge through specific bullets, leading to very complicated and challenging bullet hell gameplay. There is such an insane amount of stats and hidden stats in this game and all these synergizing mechanics and systems. It is very deep, off the walls, and very easy to construct a fully broken run. If you're at all on the fence, it has a free demo. Do check that out. You could easily play that for dozens of hours. And if you're having fun with it, the full game is discounted right now for only about $10. I'll have links down below. Thanks for hearing me out. Now let's get going on the secret boss. In order to access the secret boss of Chapter 3, you need to attain S ranks in all 3 of Tenna's boards. There is actually an alternate way to do it, I'll show that in a second. In order to achieve an S ranking, you're graded in 3 different categories. How well you perform in battle, which means taking as few hits as possible, and maintaining a high TP value. Your points gained outside of combat, which involves correctly answering the quizzes or finding coins around the map. And how well you perform in that board's minigame. People are most likely to struggle in either the battle or minigame categories. Luckily, if you fail to achieve an S rank, there is a Pippin south of the green room who will sell you an S rank for 1500 points. If you both struggle with these categories and failed to acquire the 1500 points necessary, you may instead access these secret areas by purposefully tanking these boards and achieving a Z rank. If you've already played these chapters, you've potentially discovered the manhole cover just off of the stage behind the curtain here, and maybe wondered what it was for, especially when manhole covers previously showed themselves during the weird route of Chapter 2. Here, it is instead an alternate access point for the worst of the board game participants. To get the Z rank, you still have to complete the board, you just have to do so as poorly as possible, which in some ways is as difficult as completing it with an S rank. You need to draw these fights out, taking at least 7 turns. Get hit as much as possible, don't let your TP get above 70%, but still complete the fight successfully. The funny thing with the quizzes is in order to bomb them, you do still have to know the correct answers. There's some goofy responses for incorrect answers. I'll compile those in one of the Gaster Egg videos instead. Your reward is pain, you get hit by a little lightning bolt, and are told you did bad. Obviously, you're going to want to skip all of the bonus keys. We don't want to go accidentally obtaining extra points here. For the El Niño and La Niño fight, it will always only take 7 turns, so you can't get less than the S perfect on that one, but you can bring it down in other ways. Now, you would think the chef minigame would be the easiest thing to get a bad rank in, just don't do anything. But if you actually obtain a score of 0, there's a little cutscene instead and you're forced to do it again. Tenna actually has unique responses to this, up to 10 fails. So that'll take a minute to cover, save it for a future Gaster Eggs video. I don't know precisely where the cutoff is of where this will advance and not just force you to do it again, but you do have to do at least something in this minigame. So even with that B rank in the one battle, we're still able to overall drag ourselves down to the Z rank. Chris, your rank, Z rank. Well, I suppose you gave it a good try. Here, the gift. The gift box was empty. That's right, Chris. Tenna's not too keen on that behavior. Reminds him of a certain, That's why his game's a bit of a bust, you see? Just wait. I'll show you something electrifying, I will. Afterwards, head to the unmarked star door and visit the Zapper. Welcome to the ABC Ranks Rewards room. Unfortunately, you didn't achieve rank A, B, or C. You're not allowed to use any of these doors. There's one room for people like you, at which point we're allowed to access the Z rank door. The door says exclusive Z rank changing room. That's like a bathroom, right? We'll just, go play games. They don't want to be a part of this. There's these glitchy posters on the wall, as well as a telephone off the hook, much like we saw with Spampton. It's a phone. It seems to be unplugged. It's an old poster. Seems like a collaboration between two stars. Their smiles seem so bright. Interacting with this just has a broken glass sound. And this one has the same dialogue as the other. It's a manhole. Enter. You went in the manhole. At which point, we can pop out in that back room you otherwise need the S rank for. Easy as pie. If you're instead aiming for that S rank, don't worry about totally being perfect. In the first board, you can really try to make up the difference for struggling in other areas. You only need 3 keys to complete the board, and there are actually 5. So you can make up some of the difference there, really farming the hell out of Susie grabbing coins around the board to overshoot for a T rank. I did this just to test, and it's a pretty slow process, so not necessarily recommended. But even then, if you come up short, as long as you end this with 1,500 points, you can instead just buy yourself an S rank. If you've got that S rank anyways, you might as well go talk to Ram for a quick freebie. Chris, bang up job getting S rank, love. For that, a little prize. A pink ribbon was added to your armors. Only Chris will enter the S rank room. After getting clearance from the Zapper, we enter a room that's actually quite dumpy overall. Ah, Chris, look at you, a dressing room big shot. Cheers, cheers. So how do you fancy the game then? Righto, it ain't much, isn't it, love? I'm not doing a British accent. I can't do any accents at all. Not embarrassing myself with that. Now, I knew you wouldn't like it, I knew. So listen up. You see, that game you've been playing, it's not exactly the original. Old Tenna's done a little something here, a little something there, and made the whole adventure some big old blasted line from A to B. Primo, boring stuff. But if I know Chris, and boy do I know Chris, that's not what you want, isn't it? Freedom. That's what you want, chum. Freedom. Well, if I can go hush hush for a minute here, Chris, love, that's what we got backstage. The original game, where you decide what to do. Alright, enough explaining, more gaming. I'll keep an eye out for Tenna. You go have some real fun, alright, love? There you go, and I'm sure you know, but secret to Tenna, right, love? And obviously Ram's commentary here really ties into the larger themes of the game about choice and control. Act 1 schedule. Various names and times are written under it. Act 2 schedule is scrawled underneath in red pen. Looks like a game console. Yes, we want to play. You can't immediately access the game because there's no controller, but if you leave the room, there's one immediately waiting. If you choose not to pick it up, it tells you you didn't pick up the strangely familiar controller. And upon picking it up, it is the odd controller, a gamepad no one wanted to use. The buttons are an ugly pink and yellow, something that should be immediately familiar through Spampton's eyes. Plus, just being kind of a riff on kinda janky third-party controllers. I think it's interesting as the game boots up the way it's alternating between this blue and green, as those are kind of the two different colors that represent Chris, both in the hometown and in these dark worlds. As the game is booting up, there is this outlined but unseen text that appears to read manhole, just like the manhole cover seen just in the other room here. I've also heard mantle pitched because this is literally the shadow of the mantle. The shadow crystals are invisible but still cast a shadow, so perhaps the Shadow Mantle is the same? But if anyone else thinks that they could fit other letters into that shape, I would love to hear your suggestions. I won't point out every individual difference, but kind of just showing these side by side here quickly. You can immediately see different details are missing or laid out in a different way, maybe incomplete, not quite filled in fully. But generally, it is the same map we would have just played through, with slight variations just as Ram had said. It's instead a fully single-player game. Initially, the enemies around the board are entirely passive. They will not attack you, and actually can't even do any damage to you. What was originally the hidden fan mail room is now instead an immediately accessible point where you can find the sword. Interestingly for this and several other parts of this secret area, Toby chose to pay homage to the Legend of Zelda sound effect used when discovering a secret, as opposed to the one used when finding an item. At the very start of this, there's nothing in this room off to the side, but now that you have the sword, it instructs you to become stronger. Even when you have the sword, enemies will not attack you and cannot do damage, but in order to proceed through this segment, you have to kill everything. Only once you've killed a couple enemies and reach level 2 will they start to be aggressive and fight back. But your way through this is to fight, killing absolutely every monster and entity you can find around this board. If at any point you die while playing this, there is a brief death sequence and you're able to try again. And when reaching level 3, it now reads, became stronger. And towards the bottom right of everything, there are a couple cactuses that can be cut through to access a new area. Killing everything here brings you up to the max level, level 4, at which time you must go back to one of these early rooms with the bird flying around. Only then are you strong enough to chop down the trees themselves, giving the bird nowhere safe to land, allowing you to kill it as well. Which, killing a blue bird is obviously going to be reminiscent of something very specific from Chapter 2's Snowgrave route. And interestingly, because it doesn't actually affect your level at this point, it is something you're choosing to do entirely optionally. You sadistic freak. At max level, we can hear text being written, but nothing is seen. And using Chris, we are posed the question, having fun? There's actually a missable little secret area within this entire secret area, now that we're strong enough to start cutting down trees. If you return to the screen that originally had the staircase for accessing the sword, there is an inaccessible bridge over here you can now cut to. After walking past a series of waterfalls, there is a room filled with staircases. When entering one of these staircases, in the dead center of the screen, there's something unseen that when approached runs away. And only by positioning Chris can we see the text being written in this room. See you soon. And upon exiting, all the staircases are gone. I only tried a couple of these rooms, seemingly they are all the same. Playing through this section enough times to check every single one was something I wasn't willing to do, so hopefully I didn't miss something significant there. To wrap up this first phase, you now need to find somewhere and start clear-cutting forest. Enough to be able to walk out the edge of the screen, at which point you end up in a massive area filled with trees. Once you've started going out of bounds here, there's no specific direction you need to head, you just need to transition through something like 5 screens. This immediately reminds me of the idea of being lost in the forest, something that's both significant to the Zelda series, but also came up in the Silence Expanded sweepstakes and a secret area in Chapter 4. Through here, we can acquire the Ice Key. Which immediately starts a new song. And the console shuts off. After obtaining the ice key, Chris's status is updated to Blazer, specializes in sword attacks. Chris, how was it? Lots of fun? Maybe had a little extra taste of that, you know. Well, regardless, Tenna almost came in. Gotta be extra careful next time. Come again next time, Chris, if you fancy. All I want to do is make sure you can play the games you want, Chris. And once we head back to the green room, welcome back, Chris. What the hell took so long? First saying playing games. Really? Hey, maybe we should play too next time. That's okay. I'm not really good at games. Anyway, let's hurry up and get the hell out of here. If you instead answer nothing, okay. Anyway, let's hurry up and get the hell out of here. When you gain access to the raft on the second board, you're able to go off up and left through multiple screens. Tenna claims it's just looping, but you keep pushing forward. You'll eventually come across these icy islands, at which point Tenna cuts away, and the game resets to a point before that open ocean. You can push forward through it again, but there will now be a lineup of signs barring you from moving forward. You guys have no idea how often I catch myself saying proceed or proceeding, and I catch myself and choose a different word. It still makes it in now and again, but I don't want to use it too heavily when it's so important to this series. Anyways, these signs all read, under construction, keep out. I checked them all, none of them says anything different. You can instead push forward all the way to the right. Whoa, what's in there? Nothing, ignore that. It's just a leftover, but are unable to get past this bit of weed that's in the way. Leftover? Huh? I mean, it's unfinished. What was in it? Nothing! It just goes back to, it doesn't matter. Let's get back to the game. Now, to be clear, you don't have to venture off and do all this stuff to access the secret boss. It just provides some nice larger context to things. You'll need at least an S rank again. If you're struggling with either the battles or the rhythm game, you can gain bonus points both from eating this moss over on the wall and taking the secret fourth photo of the antlions crawling around in the sand. But again, as long as you farmed 1500 points, or if you choose to tank it for that Z rank, you'll still be able to access the next phase of this boss. You're graded on the same criteria as Board 1, battles, points, and the concert minigame at the end. Do not take the extra photo, do not eat the moss. I don't know precisely what this took, but at a TP of only 6, I got told I have a small nose. It's almost a little challenging to do poorly without letting your popularity drop to 0, but it's not too bad to find a balance. But it is easier to do poorly in the battles and easier to avoid gaining points. So again, you can let yourself drop out to a Z. Ram's gift-giving interaction is the same as it was the first time we achieved the Z rank. All of the interactions leading to access this room are the same as before. There's nothing new to be shown there. We once again ditch Susie and Ralsei because who needs him, am I right? And then moving forward, we can go and talk to Ram again. I'm glad you're having real fun, Chris. It's the least I could do. Not often a dark world pops up in your own house, you know? Though, it could, if you ever wanted it to. Sorry, Chris. Don't know what I was saying there. Just go and enjoy the games, eh? Cheers. This has been updated. It's the back of a paper. Act 3 is scrawled in red at the top. Once again, we're dropped into an alternate version of the board we just played, but now you can see we've brought the ice key with us. We must first once again go retrieve the sword, and carry on with committing mass murder. Reaching level 2 allows us to cut through these weeds and access the path through the waterfall. This takes us to the area Tenna had referred to as leftover. We push forward to the left and then up through numerous screens beyond where we had previously been cut off, now once again finding these icy frozen islands. Far off to the right, there's a path that heads north. We cut our way through again, And there is a door with the Deltarune symbol on it that can only be accessed when having that ice key. Unlocked with the ice key, through which we can access a previously unseen, incredibly Zelda-like dungeon. While the room layouts are a little more complex and the enemies a tad more challenging, it's not really that much more difficult than anything you've seen in the alternate boards. If you die during this section, you are able to immediately resume back at the start of the dungeon. Interestingly, we have this blue bird that won't let us proceed, and we have a message waiting for us in this one room. Follow the white cloak. The only character we've seen so far that fits that description would be Dark World Noelle. Up and to the right, we have this pair of orange trees that we currently can't cut through. And just a little bit below that, we have another message. The Forbidden Path began with ice magic. Which, if you didn't already know how to access the Snowgrave route and were entirely doing this yourself without consulting guides online, this would be a hint telling you how to do so. At max level, cut your way through the trees and find a room with a white cloaked figure. Attacking them will not kill them, and starting from whenever you first leave that room, this figure will now be following you, and the previous rooms have now changed. There are these previously unkillable enemies that when attacked will now be turned into ice crystals, much like the Snowgrave attack. And much like Chapter 2's Snowgrave route, there is now a blue bird that must be frozen, allowing you to push beyond that room. There are now a series of crisscrossing available paths. Choosing the wrong one will loop you back around to the same room. This is very much like the classic Lost Woods puzzle seen in many Legend of Zelda games. And the cloaked figure informs which path you need to take, as they'll stop following you if you go any direction other than the correct one. After navigating this, we're closed off in a straight path room. The music cuts out, we make our way north towards another one of these Deltarune doors. Now with a red frame and what appears to be two horns, something that feels very reminiscent of Ralsei. The door is locked. The ice key was used up. She was used up. I'm gonna go full theorizer mode for a second here, and it risks spoiling both the weird route and a little bit of Chapter 4, so bit of forewarning here, I'll have a timestamp if you want to avoid that. Throughout the Snowgrave route, it's apparent that we are corrupting and manipulating Noelle, pushing her a direction she does not want to go. And this is seemingly informing us that when that route continues, pushing through to the end will come at the cost of Noelle. And looking at how the prophecy is presented at the end of Chapter 4, presumably indicating that the only way for the heroes to succeed will result in Susie's death. Gerson establishes the idea that the prophecy isn't set in stone, and that perhaps heroes could write their own story. This says to me that the two possible routes of the game will either lead to Susie or Noelle's death, depending if you play the normal or weird route. I sincerely hope there is a secret third option where everyone makes it through, but right now, things are looking pretty grim. We move forward into a fully empty room. It looks like Chris is getting tossed across to the other side of the screen, but that's just the room transition effect. Until someone chimes in. Well done. You found my secret hiding place. But there's nothing here, is there? After a few more screens, there is something shiny waiting on the floor. You got the shelter key. Oh, you found that too. Perfect. Just perfect. Thanks for all your hard work, Chris. You were used up. Chris looks over their shoulder and unplugs the controller. Chris, how are the games? Just to your liking? What? Someone backstage with you? No, Chris, I was back here on security the whole time. Tenna's really starting to stick that nose of his around, though. Sorry, but I think we're gonna have to make the next one the last one. Chris, you sure you're feeling normal? Well, you are talking to a power strip, so maybe not. After getting the bunker key, Chris's status updates again, now reading Ice Blazer, but still having the note specializes in sword attacks. At the end of this chapter, with no guards in place, you can directly walk straight into the S tier room. It's not really possible to get a ranking in that third board, so it doesn't matter what you did during that window. And there is no longer a set of doors stopping you from entering the room with the console. This time, this note is unchanged, but we can see a glowing light coming from the console room. Chris, that's you, isn't it, love? Good show, good show. Tenna's been up to this and that and this, all sorts of boring stuff. But Chris, oh Chris, you and I know the real drama happens backstage. That's why I got it ready for you, you know? One last game, and I'll keep watch. Well, just as long as I can. Now, Chris, I hate to trouble you, I really do, but you see, I can't really move myself now. If you could just shove me out of the way. Yes, that's right, just like that. You can see that Ramb is sort of half statuified. Chris, enjoy the games, eh, love? Chris, I'm an ignorant plug. Can't say I know your motivation. But I saw you make it, you know. The fountain. Could it be you just wanted to have fun again? Some real fun, just like the old days? That's been my purpose, you know. Letting you play your games. But now that the games are almost over, makes you think, was it really all such a good idea? Your mother, your poor mother, what will happen if she wakes up? What am I doing? A power strip? Giving you a lecture? Just play your games, love. Chris, if not for fun, why'd you do it? Mum's the word, isn't it? Fair play, fair play. This time, we boot up into something that looks much like the cyber world, specifically the cyber city, where the Snowgrave route was first initiated. And we now have Susie and Ralsei following along with us. There's a room with a lone cactus you can hurt yourself on, but again, if you were to die here, it simply resets. We can head through this cityscape view and then through more buildings, moving through very specific areas seen in Chapter 2. But not identical. This body of water that's adjacent to the city is something we never saw. There's a path down to the bottom right of everything, and a staircase that gives access to the sword once more. We are once again presented with being level 1, but as you move your way through the city, you realize there is nothing to fight. The only option is to turn and slash at Susie and Ralsei. Look at Chris playing the console, not Chris on the game screen, as you turn and slash these two. They specifically choose to look away. Each kill results in a full level, and when we head back into this room, we can now cut down the cactus, as well as cutting our way through these ropes, heading into the darkened back alley, until at the far end we come across an uncovered manhole, through which we enter a dark dungeon, fighting various fire-breathing monsters and avoiding these very Mario-like spinning fire poles. There's a room with several sleeping faces. There are numerous rooms to fight your way through, including one where this pink cat-like creature is singing notes at us. In this room, the white ones are angered and will charge at you. Overall, this is notably harder than any of the previous little side dungeons we would have gone through. Having a shadowy figure that does the opposite of any movements you attempt to do is a puzzle that is directly taken from old Zelda games. However, after forcing them into the corner, you take control of them, And when running them towards Chris will slash on their own to defeat them, and you resume controlling Chris. In this previously passive room, the various faces will charge you one by one. There's a room with monsters that do not move that is seemingly only there to allow you to both level up and heal. Toby slipped some pretty interesting references to the hometown monsters into this dungeon. For example, this room has 7 flowers in it and a yellow monster that chucks spears at us. When you go through and kill all the flowers first, that monster breaks free and aggressively attacks us. Or this room full of yellow dinosaur-like monsters and a fish, which elsewhere in this is usually blue and red. They're only seen as grayscale here, but when you kill them, then the yellow dinosaurs kill themselves. We have both white and pink cat monsters, but it doesn't really seem to be saying much about them in this. I don't think every one of these rooms and monsters has a direct connection, but knowing there are for sure a couple, it's hard not to project onto some of these others. Like potentially just a room full of nameless NPCs choosing to hide away from us, and our only way to progress further is to go full genocide on them. I'd be really curious if anyone managed to draw any other connections. Who knows what other kinda sick, twisted things have come out of Toby's mind here. So, picking things back up off to the far right, we can again chop our way through a row of trees, which brings us to this lone path. Then, finding Tenna standing on his own. How did things turn out like this? Keeping poor Toriel all locked up? He will teleport to the other side, you proceed further. If only he hadn't abandoned me, my old partner. As Chris exclusively uses they-them pronouns, it wouldn't be Chris. We don't really know who, maybe Mike or some other unseen third party. I was gonna put him on TV, make him a star. I gave him everything I had, my life advice. All he had to do was tell me what his little secret was. His secret to being a big shot. So this and the next couple lines seem to be pointing towards Spampton. It took a little sweet talk, but just when I had finally gotten him to sign the deal, he suddenly had to take a phone call. But when he picked it up, his face turned pale, and he ran right out of the room with the receiver hanging. So I went to pick it up, thinking it was finally my chance to be a big shot. But there was nobody there. That little freak ripped me off. I wish they never brought that laptop home. Now this could easily be referring to Chris taking home the queen that we now know is a laptop. Chris, I didn't see you there. I did what you said, Chris. Just like our deal. You aren't going to turn me off again, are you? At which point you can swipe at Tenna and kill him. And head down off-screen into a forested area, much like the path towards the shelter south of town. And with the shelter key, we can open these doors. The game moves to this blacked out screen with a small light source centered on Chris, until we enter a fully blacked out room and this unseen figure again addresses us. Chris. Oh, Chris. Is it fun, Chris? Playing around like this? That's why you're searching for them, aren't you? The shadow crystals? And the shadow mantle that I'm holding. Do you honestly think it'll get you what you want? No. Part of you is just enjoying this, isn't it? Oh, don't make that sour face. I can see in the dark, you know. The question is, can you? At which point we need to run around this room and attempt to dodge these incoming bombs. They are able to rip through the blocks around the screen, trying to get off hits whenever we can. It's a little bit tough, there's a lot going on. They'll advance to a second stage, everything turns sort of purple, it has the CRT-like filter on it. Various cat-like figures with the pink and yellow eyes appear to swarm us. When you attack them to keep away from you, they do fade to just a smile, something we've seen repeatedly throughout this game and realistically series as a whole. This time I died due to game difficulty, not just testing things, but yes, it did confirm that you're able to immediately re-attempt the fight. Things become even more red, the bombs become more frequent. It is a pretty tough fight. It took me many tries. This final phase, things are just going all over. You kind of got to sneak in and try and get a few slashes. But when you finally do get it, there. That's what I wanted to see. Flickering red, like pretty little flames. Your eyes can't hide it, Chris. Without play, the knife grows dull. Well, enough of that. We both have work to do. So, if you want this mantle, hurry up and take it. If you can reach it. Which, something that we've seen right from early on. Anytime we jump down into the dark world, we can see Chris's eye for a fraction of a second, and it is red. We must pursue them through the top. A treasure chest. It's too high up to reach. But you can then walk out of the screen. The path continues into this brown trail. As you walk out onto the floor, Chris will directly look at you and drop their controller. You can walk up. They'll even jump backwards if you attack. At which point you resume control of Chris and can then walk out onto the game screen. You open the treasure chest. Inside was Shadow Mantle. At this stage, we still don't know precisely what it all means. But the fact that this is a game within a game, and it is now blurring the line between the in-game avatar and the player, is presumably directly analogous to the way that we've been blurring the lines between the in-game character Chris and us, the player. It's a pretty direct, fairly literal interpretation. We just don't know exactly what it all means yet. You can come back around and reclaim the controller, at which point Susie runs in. Hey, Chris! What the hell are you doing? Being a tryhard all by yourself? You seriously enjoy this? Of course, games are fun. If you get all sweaty playing games alone, you're gonna end up like Birdly, right? Okay, enough bird noises, I get it. Anyway, here, stole your drink. Now stop making us wait already. Or no. Okay, then here's an idea. Susie unplugs the controller. Don't play it. Anyway, here, stole your drink. Now stop making us wait already. During this screen, you still have control over little Pixel Chris and can walk them up to and swipe at Susie. Main Chris will pull her away. And little Chris leaves. Chris, what are you... Alright, I get it. Well, if you really want to, go ahead. I tasted your shampoo in your bathroom. Here, you can taste mine. So Susie finally admits it. What? How am I the weird one here? Jeez. Anyway, here, stole your drink. Now stop making us wait already. You can't interact with the controller or the console, and cannot re-enter the screen. You found a flat soda. Flat soda somebody already took a big sip from. Recovers 20 HP. And as a result of the mantle fight, we have an updated status. Level 3, Sheath. Breath quickens around swords. If you leave and come back, everything is shut down, no more controller, that is the end of that. Took you long enough. Susie, look, I made it to level 2. Level 2, huh? Chris, you're the tryhard. What do you think? Chris? I'm sorry, Chris, I forgot all about you. I got so into playing games with Susie, you should have seen it, Chris. He was actually raging at the falling arrow part. I suppose I was. Not very chuffed by that dart, but I had fun. Sorry, did you want to play, Chris? Dude, we need to seal the fountain. Oh, right, how did I forget about that? Let's go. Basically everything that was included in the Spamton sweepstakes ended up being direct references or teases of things from upcoming chapters. Most heavily chapter 3. I don't really think it's worth making a video drawing all those comparisons since most of them are quite literal. But now, with all this context, I thought it would be fun to look at the page of Noelle's blog, Ice Palace Glacier. Ones that seemingly comment directly on these hidden game paths. The cross-shaped maze in the ice area from Dragon Blazers. Once you go in it, no matter where you go, you'll always be brought back to the same room. Normally, one of the characters is supposed to guide you through the maze. I think I went every single possible direction somehow. Then the last direction you go is up. If you do that, you'll find a door that doesn't appear anywhere else in the game. Noelle mentions panicking, unplugging the controller, and things resetting, then calming down, re-plugging in, and what's super weird was that somehow I was able to get right back to the door. I was so happy I almost had started screaming again, but remembered to hold my breath halfway. Now I was going to be able to see what was in the secret door. Or so I thought. It was locked. And I've never been able to find any key in the game that opens it. I just thought that was quite fun to revisit, but it doesn't especially add a lot. It's just cool to know how far ahead Toby's planned all this. And while I think that should probably be considered the secret boss, you may have noticed you didn't actually acquire a shadow crystal. So this all needs to get taken a step further. With the Shadow Mantle acquired, we now want to go all the way to the end of the chapter when you originally fight the Knight. Normally, this is a semi-scripted encounter where you're basically getting one shot by every attack, and it's designed in a way where you're just not really supposed to be able to win. Now, the Shadow Mantle protects against Shadow and Star type attacks, which gives you a fighting chance in this boss battle, but it's still incredibly hard. And with or without the Shadow Mantle, people have still managed to beat it on fully hitless runs, so it's not technically needed, just no one recommends you doing it that way. As soon as you are done the Tenafite, run back and save, because there's almost no chance you're sitting at full health after that, especially the way the last phase is kind of built to punish you a little bit. Then you can continue forward, fighting fit, and ready for the hell that's coming your way. It is very much kill or be killed. Focus on stacking your characters with high damage dealing weapons and strong defenses. Things like the Jevil's Tail and Deal Maker will be incredibly important. The Twin Ribbon is another great option if you have that. You're probably going to want to put the mantle on Susie since she is the most tanky to begin with, and is your primary damage dealer, so you really want to keep her alive as much as possible. Probably equip some TP boosters on Chris. Get Chris to hold their breath on the first turn and focus on defending as much as possible. Holding breath allows the soul to move faster, which should make dodging a little easier. Only spend time healing with Ralsei if absolutely necessary. Do not bother trying to use Susie's, it's not really functional at this stage. When using Susie's Rude Buster, make sure to use the extra button input right before it hits for extra damage. The Knight has 5 attacks with 3 variants each. The 5 attacks cycle through in order, getting slightly more difficult each time through. They are largely random, very punishing, so you want this fight to be over as quickly as possible. Luckily, you don't have to get the Knight down to 0 health. You only need to deal around 25% of its total health. The use of swoon instead of down when a character falls during this fight is seemingly a reference to Final Fantasy IV. I found a great explanation of this in a 10-year-old article written by Clyde Mendelin on Legends of Localization. In that game, there was a sword called the Deathbringer, which in Japanese was called the Black Sword. This sword had the ability to insta-kill enemies, and when it did, it would say swoon in English, which can mean to faint or lose consciousness. So there you go, there's a little tie-in there, it's a Black Sword reference. I spent, I don't know how long doing this fight, and I died in what I'm pretty sure is the last, second of the fight, and I rage quit, but I still wanted to move forward making this video. To this day, I've only beat Jevil once in my life and have just never gone back to that fight. So I'm gonna have to make use of footage of someone who's notably better at the game. I'll be sure to link to their video down below if you want to see someone a little more competent tackle this. Here's a short list of unsolicited tips from a loser who couldn't even beat the fight for himself. For this first attack, the hitboxes are relatively forgiving. It is only their center mass that can hurt you, but as it's coming at you as fast as it does, it's a little hard to pay attention to that. The second attack with the swords is much more punishing. Do not stop moving and just have quick reaction times, because this one can one-shot a full HP defending Ralsei. The box getting cut in half is also brutal. Head to the edge of the box and try to stick to the middle to give yourself options for dodging. These things get sent at you fast and you just have to thread them as best as possible. As this very Sans-like attack is sweeping its way at you, you may find it's helpful to hold the button to slow down the movement of the soul so you can make more fine-tuned adjustments to your positioning, but it eventually becomes this circular version, and in this one you just have to go full speed. And finally, the fifth attack is probably the easiest one. Just keep on moving. The attack is telegraphed fairly helpfully. If ever there was a time to throw down a heal, it should probably be during this attack. There are 3 variants on each attack, each preceded by a little bit of flavor text. I wanted to present those in the order you would encounter them in the battle. The Roaring Night appeared. You felt something hovering close behind your head. Suddenly, the north winds blew fiercely. Your vision narrows. Your chest feels tight. You felt lightheaded. You saw golden stars. Suddenly, the north and east winds blew fiercely. Your vision narrows. Your head is spinning. You feel surrounded. You felt your chest twisting. You felt lightheaded. You felt a migraine coming on. Suddenly, a tempest. Your vision narrows. The world revolves around you. You feel cornered. And your heartbeat becomes twisted. Throughout the battle, Susie starts to chirp the knight, which I absolutely love, so I wanted to share her dialogue through the fight. Didn't think we'd still be standing, did you? Thing is, you actually messed up picking a fight with us. You're all damn alone. Me? I got Chris and Ralsei behind me. Even if you knock me down, as long as Chris, Ralsei are here, as long as Chris has got a hand to lift me up with, you're never gonna win. You hear me? So, give up. You know you can't win, so give up. You won't even say a thing, huh? Man, I'm done talking. People like you just piss me off. There's a slight deviation in Susie's dialogue here if she's the only one left standing. Even if you knock them down, as long as I'm here to lift them back up, you're never gonna win. You hear me? And it resumes from there. After that big final attack, you only have to land one more hit. The knight glitches out into this staticky ball. We actually beat it? What, don't tell me you've had enough already. Come on, we were just getting started. Susie goes ham and lands a final attack. Going full power struggle against the knight and actually manages to chip their sword, which is so dope. Not so tough now, are you? Followed by a devastating attack. Susie! How could you? Ralse as well. Laying the sword across Chris's shoulder, forcing them to kneel. Almost like being knighted, but still taken out. Undyne coming in plays out much like before. Picking up the chip of the sword, we acquire both a shadow crystal and a black shard, which goes to our weapons. This is a very powerful weapon. A dagger-like shard of the black knife strikes the weakness of dark element enemies. There's a new bit of dialogue checking on Ralse at this time. Somehow, I thought we had won for a moment. That we would be able to end the battle, here and now. You were so brave, and yet, in the end, our struggle, it's only the beginning, isn't it? Isn't it, Chris? Chris, I'll be fine. But if I'm hurt this badly, then Susie must be. Chris, you'll make sure she's alright, won't you? And there's also a difference when inspecting Toriel. If you are quickly defeated the normal way, it just says she's sleeping peacefully. Here, instead, her face contorted. It looks like she's having a nightmare. And from there, we're sent off to chase after Susie again. And from here, the remainder of the chapter plays out as usual. I was going to originally make one video that had both chapter 3 and 4's secret bosses, but as you can tell, this one kinda got away from me a bit. Here's your reminder that Steam summer sale is going on. Go check out Schism. I'm gonna feel this way about anything I've published, but I think that one is especially underrated. There will be links to that down below. My next video should probably be covering the Chapter 4 secret boss. Hopefully I'll be able to put together that one a little more quickly. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope to see you again soon.